Hello, I'm Hani Chaabo. I'm a family doctor and mindfulness teacher, and I'm delighted to be here with you today, so thank you for joining me. I'm going to be talking to you about mindfulness practices for burnout and catching the signs and symptoms of burnout before it even develops. So before we dive into the wild and wonderful world of mindfulness and burnout, I'm going to introduce you to my pre-mindfulness self. This is me. I used to be obese, unhappy, unsatisfied, and in many ways I felt stuck. And the world I lived in was a very judgmental place.
You call yourself Fat Amy?
Yeah, so twig bitches like you don't do it behind my back.
In this picture here where I'm wearing glasses, I was faking that because I thought that it would get me better evaluations. And you know what? It did. I felt stuck because in medicine, the way we were taught, it's very heavily reliant on pharmaceuticals. And not very much is said about lifestyle change in terms of managing and preventing chronic disease. So I was so disenchanted, and this was starting to affect my academic performance. The saying goes that you don't stop suffering until you've decided to stop suffering. So in that moment, I decided to read a motivational book, and I landed on How to Get From Where You Are to Where You Want to Be by Cherry Huber. It was a very ambitious title. It spoke to all the wrong places in me, but it turned out to be a seductive book into getting me to start to meditate. And I started with 5 minutes per day, and I really attribute that as the single most intervention that led to every other positive change in my life. In fact, we're starting to understand that just practicing mindfulness can lead to every other positive behavioral change that you would want in your life. This paper by Dr. Zev Schumann-Olivier, who I had the pleasure of interviewing, talks about that. And if you want to know more about that, please go ahead and watch that interview. We all have faced burnout. Let's face it, I've definitely faced burnout. And practicing mindfulness has been my saving grace. It's helped me stay connected to my deeper self and also stay connected to my patients. And in many ways, practicing mindfulness is not just for you, it's for everyone around you. So let's talk about burnout. Burnout is a pandemic issue. In the United States alone, burnout affects more than half of physicians that are practicing. And it's highest in healthcare, higher than even being a policeman or a teacher or a firefighter. On average, one physician is committing suicide every day in the US. That's one whole medical school every year falling victim to burnout. And burnout is the mental result of chronic unresolved stress. But chronic unresolved stress also leads to physical breakdown. In fact, 9 out of 10 leading causes of death can be attributed to chronic stress. And 2/3 of visits to a family physician are also related to stress, and I can vouch for that. Chronic unresolved stress changes set points in the body, causing it to malfunction. Let's say you're driving to work and someone cuts you off in traffic.
One more push, I'm gonna smack his face so hard he'll have to stick his toothbrush up his arse to clean his teeth.
To the body, it doesn't differentiate between that happening and a lion running after you. It starts to activate the fight or flight nervous system to protect you. Your heart rate goes up, your blood pressure goes up. Your clotting ability gets faster so that you can very quickly stop bleeding if it happens. And your immune and digestive systems are shut down in order to shunt all that blood to your muscles so you can escape. In a heartbeat, your body readies you to protect yourself and turns on the fight or flight nervous system. But let's say you realize it was just a mindless driver who is victim of their own time mismanagement and impatience, and you decide, I don't want any of that. You turn up your favorite music and you drive graciously to work.
You send my soul sky high when your loving starts to the boogie into my...
Great. What happens now is your rest and recover nervous system comes on and reverses all those changes. It decreases your heart rate, decreases your blood pressure, and it reduces that nervous system hyperactivation. And it turns on the immune and digestive systems, which are the systems needed for healing and growth. But let's say you couldn't shake it off. You got to work, your work day was horrible, and then you got home and your family was a mess, and you say, all right, I'm gonna take a vacation to try and shake all this off, and you go on that vacation and you're not refreshed, and now you're going through a pandemic. Now you're living in the fight or flight nervous system, so that one-time increase in your heart rate becomes arrhythmia, and blood pressure becomes hypertension. That increase in activation of your nervous system becomes anxiety, depression, insomnia, and other mental health disorders. And when that goes on unchecked for a long period of time, that's what leads to mental burnout and physical breakdown. The good news is that this is all reversible. Yay! The same mechanisms that led to those set points changing negatively can also be harnessed to change those set points back to where the body can function more optimally. Those mechanisms are known as neuroplasticity and epigenetics. In a nutshell, the way we are living our lives is changing our brain architecture and how our genes are being expressed.